in April, actually Easter weekend, I got offered here at Louisiana Tech, and I've been here since July. And currently loving my life, except for today, but loving life. That's basically it in a long run. I don't really have anything else on my plate other than just do a lot of internships, do a lot of always ask questions. I always ask everybody in the industry, hey, I have a free day, can I go hang out with you guys? Like, can I see what you do? I do that all the time. I did that with Bowling Green last year. I went there a couple times, did their football and hockey. So I made really great connections with Taylor, who's the director over there. I made a really great connection with Navy, since I do live 5 minutes away from Navy. So I made that connection. So I went to go help out a game there. I went to go help out a couple games at Mizzou because I was on spring break and I didn't really have anything to do. Since my team, which was baseball, was out of town, so I went to go do Mizzou. I recently just went to Monroe, which is down the street. So I made connections there and Lafayette. So I would always say, as interns and you guys, I would always ask, if you have a free day, go somewhere. Everyone is always willing to help everybody, and it kind of helps you build a network. And it's always great to see another perspective, because you're like, oh, I really like that idea, and you bring it back to Georgia Southern and you put your own spin on it. Kind of makes it more creative. That's all I got. Any questions?
So what about college athletics made you like it over professional baseball?
Well, the thing that I really like college athletics because honestly, it's not the same thing 9 months in a row because it gets repetitive, especially after you have 12 games in a row. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love minor league baseball. It's literally my favorite. I will never ever forget any of my ridiculous promotions. But it's just not the same kind of atmosphere because in professional baseball or just in professional sports, you have those fans that just come because, oh, it's, I'm trying to keep it. It's just the Braves. I'm going to go for the Braves. Where in college, you get students going because it's their school and they're a little bit more proud. So it's kind of a different environment, and the athletes enjoy it a lot more than professional athletes, because professional athletes are just there because they're just getting paid, whereas college kids are like, I'm doing this because I love the game and I love to hear the crowd and stuff. But my main thing was that I switched just because it's not the same thing every nine months. I get to switch my sports up every season. So I would have a fall, winter, and spring. So it kind of keeps me on my toes. So I'm like, okay, I'm done with wrestling. Okay, now we're into baseball season. Okay, baseball's over. Let's go into football. Okay, football's over. Let's go to basketball. So it kind of keeps you on your toes and kind of keeps your mind fresh. So nothing really gets stale.
I'm trying to think. I don't know how to word the question. I want to say what are some of your techniques that you like to use when going into each different season, as far as trying to do something different for each different sport versus the season before?
What I like to do is I like to ask around. For this year, this is my first year actually doing volleyball. So what I did was I kind of took what I knew from SIUE, and then I kind of asked around, I was like, hey, all my friends who are in the business, who I know who oversee volleyball, I would ask them, be like, hey, what are some things you do for volleyball? Can you give me some ideas? So they would send me their old marketing plans, and I would kind of take and choose what they do. I didn't really know that volleyball had an annual Dig Pink game, so I have to host one of those. So I kind of put my spin on it. And during Sundays, one of my friends at Utah State kind of had a Bumstead brunch, and we have an early Sunday game. So I was like, ooh, that's a really good idea. I can put that in there. And then also talking to your coaches. Your coaches obviously coached at other schools. My coach is a brand new first year D1 school. coach, but she just came from Florida, so she was telling me what they kind of did at Florida. So I'm like, okay, well, that's a really good idea. How do we incorporate that with our fan base? And kind of like, that's how I would say for technique is kind of like bouncing off of each other. And because you never know if you have an idea that they like, but you don't like it, but you can kind of like tweak it a little bit, it kind of works. I mean, that's what I would. And then for like professionals, literally you can do anything you want in the book of professional sports, because if you haven't noticed, the minor leagues really don't have any rules. Just don't make it offensive. Y'all can ask questions. I got all day. I'm missing a meeting, which is totally fine. I was excused.
Can you talk about like some of the differences between SIUE and La Tech as far as what you have to deal with on a daily basis?
Yeah, well, the major difference is SIUE does not have a football team, and obviously Louisiana Tech does. So that is a brand new environment for me, which is kind of good in a way because I was already incorporating that into my last year as a GA. I went over to, I did my GA, I don't know what you call it. It's not an internship, but your GA summer, whatever, for our master's program. I did at the University of Illinois, and I kind of got in with their athletics marketing department. So they kind of said, hey, if you have no football experience and you want to get into college athletics, you kind of need to understand it. So come with us for the semester. So I was there for all of football season. So the big thing that I took away from SIUE was that I understood how schools without football operate, which is a little bit more, not less stressful, but it's not as demanding as where I'm at school here, who has a Division I FBS school, which is a little bit more demanding because football basically overtakes every other sport, and you kind of have to try to find the balance that coaches are always fight for. Like my volleyball coach is like, well, why does football get this? Why does football get that? And you're just like, because it's football. I don't know how else to tell you. And also with men and women's basketball, you have to have that balance too. Where at SIUE, that was the main sport, was basketball. So you're trying to figure out that route. But the biggest thing I took away and difference is that at SIUE, I was kind of doing everything. As a GA, I literally did all 16 varsity sports social media accounts. I do all the graphics, home, away, halftime, final score, next game, all that. I was in charge of operations, referees, everything, visiting team, making sure everyone got their locker rooms, making sure everybody was fed, make sure visiting team got in, got out. For baseball, we had to physically drive them. And then at Louisiana Tech, I can kind of breathe because it's a little bit bigger staff. So I kind of have more respect for the smaller schools because that's what I went through. And now going to Louisiana Tech, I don't really have to do all that because there are people in those jobs. So like, that's kind of like my big thing is that if you've never worked at a smaller school and you go to a bigger school, you don't really understand like how much people actually work. And then my best friend works at a Division III school. So I don't know if y'all know, but Division III, one person does basically 5 jobs. It's so sad. But that was kind of my thing. Was kind of understanding the smaller school aspect of I think it's Division, you can correct me if it's wrong, Division I, 3A?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I would say it's that, and then I'm in a FBS school, so it's a big jump there.
Can you talk about, tricks of working with, more difficult or, difficult coach or something like that?
Yeah. So I've kind of looked out so far at SIUE, or at La Tech. My my volleyball coach is literally the sweetest person on the planet. But at SIUE, we did have a very difficult coach. Naturally, I had to work with them. So you'll have those coaches that are very stuck up and very in their ways, where at my baseball coach, I would always go in and be like, well, what about this promotion? He literally flat out told me, I literally don't care about your job. I'm just here to get paid to coach and win. So when you get those kind of coaches, like, don't feel discouraged. Just try to do your best and try to let him know that you're there to help promote the team. But if he's very standoffish, there's really nothing you can do, because you don't really want to egg on a coach, because the last thing you want to do is burn a bridge, because that's not very good on you, and it's not going to look good on the department. So what I did with my baseball coach is I kind of just did my thing. If he had a question, I made sure I was there to talk to him. If I needed anything, I would literally quick go in his office, get a baseball signed, and then literally like walk out. So I kind of just try to stay away, but was there if he needed me. That's what I did with my coach. And then I had a wrestling coach there who was very, very, very hands-on, and you have to learn to tell them, like, I have it, like, everything's under control. You don't want a helicopter coach, because then they start putting in their 2 cents into your promotions, and then you're kind of getting frustrated because you're not doing your promotions the way you want to. You're doing the promotions the way they want to, and it just gets into a very sticky situation. I've seen it happen, and I've seen it go both ways. One was that the coach kind of backed off because he understood, and another one, it went up the chain.
Do you have any advice for people who are searching for jobs, whether that be a GA or that position, like an assistant director, kind of how you were? Like, how do you find the best fit?
I'm actually telling my kids this. I have 5 seniors that are about ready to start. So what I've been telling them was that, I don't know if you guys know about the NCAA job market. Okay, well, you need to look it up. It's like NCAAjobmarket.org.
Sound about right.
I think it's org.
Yeah, I got a book
It's
more
one
too.
of those. I don't think it's a comp. It could be a comp. I don't really know. It's one of those. My kids know. I don't know. But I used to search that all the time. And what I'm telling my kids is that keep looking and kind of understand what the job descriptions are. 2 jobs have already dropped. One from Troy and one from Clemson. So I made NC Central. And I kind of tell them to look over that, and you kind of understand what the job description is. And I always tell them, if you read the job description and you can't physically do these duties, you should probably not apply for them. You need to look at a job description and go, I can do that. I can do that. I've already done that. Then that's a job that you should look for. Because we've had GAs in the past who have accepted a job offer that have never in their life have done Photoshop, and they're now the creative director or creative GA. Never used Photoshop in their life. So I kind of always say that's what you kind of need to like understand, is that a job description is kind of like a contract saying you need to do these things in order to do this job. So I would tell you guys to look over it, ask around, start looking on random colleges, websites at like assistant directors or directors, and be like, do you have any advice? Like, do you guys have any open roles soon? Because those GAs that are graduating in May know they're gonna graduate and know that they're gonna have maybe 1 or 2 spots open. Like, everyone already knows that they're gonna graduate. You just have to find them. Sometimes they're internally, sometimes they're externally. You just have to find that balance. A lot of the jobs we posted at the end of January, February-ish, they really want to get these GA jobs locked in by like March. So you literally have this little this little time frame to get in. There'll be some stragglers that keep opening until April. I didn't get my GA job till the end of May, early June, just because mine was just a late opening. But the bulk of everybody is usually in the first 2 months of the new year. So I would always keep looking, always ask questions. Also, try not to look too much in like a certain area. If y'all are from, how far is Atlanta from y'all? I don't even know.
3 hours.
3 hours.
Okay, I lied. But okay, let's just say you're from Atlanta. And you want to stay in Atlanta. That little area is all you get, and you have to factor in how many schools are outside Atlanta. Because I'm from Maryland, and I ended up in St. Louis for 2 years, and now I'm here. In this job, in this industry, you have to be willing to move anywhere at any time, because if you become so close to home, you just limited yourself by like 90% of the schools that you may like, and they may be like, okay, this is a great stepping stone. I need to be here for 1 or 2 years, and then I can go to somewhere closer to home because I have that more experience. So I would say when you're looking, if you end up in Idaho, you better be the best Idaho resident for 2 years. If you end up in Michigan, you better buy a parka. Like, that's just my 2 cents. And I tell my kids this constantly, like, because they're all like, oh, I want to move back to Dallas, I want to go home. Like, well, you just limited yourself, like, the other 90% of schools that you may fall in love with, that you just never knew. I never knew I would like the Midwest. I absolutely love St. Louis. Loved it. It was a great 2 years. And now I'm in Louisiana. Never thought I would live in Louisiana my entire life. And I'm in Louisiana. And I love it, except when it's like 1,000 degrees. But it's all good. So that's my sense on getting any, like, looking for jobs. Always be willing to look outside your comfort zone. Make sure your job description is something you can actually do and you feel comfortable doing. Don't just say I can do this and you're doing the same task next week and you're like, this is stressing me out. You need to, like, full confidence, go up to the employer and be like, I can do this job, hire me. And when you're in interviews, your last sentence should be like, I can do anything you ask for. I really want this job. Like, you have to let them know, I really want this job. That's how I got this job, is because I told Kay, my boss, I want this job. I'm ready to be in an FBS school. So, more confidence. I hope that answered the question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, tell us your favorite part about your job, and then your least favorite or hardest part about your job at
My
Rockside.
favorite part, I don't know. I really like it here. It's a lot different than SIUE. I love the game day atmosphere. My brother went to West Virginia, so I love college football day environments. And Louisiana Tech here just has one that I just like absolutely fall in love with. So I love the football game day. I know they're 14-hour days, but I worked in baseball for so long that 14-hour days are literally like 3-hour days. My other favorite is the student athletes. My favorite are my volleyball girls. For some reason, they really, really like me. They always hang out in my office, and it's really nice to hear like how their day was. Someone will just walk in and be like, Katie, I've had a bad day. And I'm like, what's wrong? They go, well, they didn't have Chick-fil-A today. So it's kind of like, yes. So it's kind of like, it's first world problems over here in Louisiana, guys. They don't have Chick-fil-A on Mondays. So it's kind of like really awesome when you bond with your athletes, because you kind of start to see another side of student athletes that you really normally don't get. Also, I just traveled with them, which in marketing, you kind of almost never get to travel with your teams because you're stuck in your office trying to plan their stuff or the next game. So I kind of got the opportunity to travel with them. So you kind of get to experience the other side of that team, kind of makes you like closer. So that's kind of like my favorite in general.